Good morning, honorable judges, ladies and gentlemen. Why do they teach us this? You know that moment you're sitting in class, looking at the clock, and just wondering why you're learning this lesson, why you're in this class, what's the significance of this, why are we going to use this, when are we going to use this? These are questions that we, students attending high school and primary school, ask ourselves every day. I will prove that the following classes seem useless at the beginning, but end up super useful at the end. Our first class is math. Now, we all know math is super important because it's the base build of society, but we always question their lessons regardless. For example, in Sec 3, do we all remember learning Pythagorean theorem for the first time? It seemed utterly useless to us. We just didn't know what it was used for. And we only got our answer in Sec 4 when we learned that Pythagorean theorem is actually the base build of all cities, everything we walk in, all the buildings we stand in, the roads we drive on, the cities we walk through. This is what Pythagorean theorem is used for. That's why we learn it. Even though it seems useless at the beginning, it's super important to learn about it. And the same goes for graphs, volumes, and shapes. We look at these like, why are we doing this? But it's super important to learn them because we realize later in the future that it's everything in society. Another class is history. We all know history is used to learn to not repeat the past. But we always miss the point that it also teaches us to learn about actions and consequences. For example, kings and queens, criminals and thieves, dictators and tyrants, emperors and overlords, all these people abused their power and wealth and made people's lives terrible. But we learn in history that we can't do that now because that's terrible. And we learn that history teaches us that when we abuse power, it's not good and that we shouldn't do it. Like for today, politicians and social media, they control our lives, but if they do something bad, it will backfire on them and something bad will happen to them. That's what history teaches us. History also teaches us that we are history. Me standing here explaining these things is history, and that everything we do is history. If I have a friend who walks into a wall, I'm not gonna walk into the wall after him because that's history and I learned from his mistake. That's what history is used for. Another class, or classes for this example, is language classes. We sit there and we look at this class like, why do we have to learn our own language? We know how to speak it, we know how to socialize with other people, but that's what we always miss. These classes teach us how to socialize better with people. Without these classes, I wouldn't have friends. Without these classes, I wouldn't be standing here saying these things. And also, I wouldn't have a job without these classes because I wouldn't know how to read nor write or even speak properly. This is what these classes are used for. They're used to teach us how to integrate more into society and be more of a person than just an actual human being. And our final class that everyone, and I say everyone, sits there and just is bored and doesn't want to do anything because it's repetitive, they think, is ethics. Everyone sits there, just, they don't understand. Because every year, for 5 years, it's the good, the bad, religion, the problems of humanity. That's what it's been teaching us. And we sit there and we're like, we know these things already. But we always miss that there's always goods and bads created every day. There's always new things involved in the world. Racism, sexism, hatred, all these things we know that they're here in the world, but we need to learn how they evolve with us and how they become more of a problem and that we must eradicate them in the future. And for religion, for 5 years we've been learning religion, and we're just tired of it because some of us are believers and some of us are non-believers. And for the non-believers, we're just standing there like, why are we doing this? I don't need to learn about religion. We always miss that religion is a huge part of our society today. It built our society. Back in history, religion conquered everything. That's what we miss. But also wars and celebration, crashes and developments, evolution and extinctions are all based off religion and the spirituality of humans. This is why we learn religion, because we learn that it's a huge part of our society today. Also, teaching you all these things about religion, the good, the bad, and the problems of human, they also teach you about human empathy. This is what ethics teaches us the most. Human empathy, to feel what other people feel, to put us in the shoes of others. It teaches us like rage, joy, happiness, gluttony, confusion, and makes us see through other people's eyes. That is human empathy, and that's what ethics teaches us about society and integrates us more within the human race and as a person. From math to history, language to ethics, all these classes seemed unwanted and not pleased with and just useless in our eyes, but ended up crucial at the end of the day. So at the end, now knowing what you know now, will your opinion of these classes stay the same or will they change for the better? Thank you.